Hello, Honors Pre-Calc. I just know that we did not get through as much of the notes last class that I had wanted to, and so I thought I would go ahead and make a quick video, and hopefully that'll help because I just want to make sure that you're okay as far as taking time to do your homework on the next homework assignment that I have. I mean, this is not showing up very well. Okay, so um, let's look at example 8. I think we got through sine for everybody, but we did not get through cosine and tangent, and I had 2 other examples I wanted to make sure I got through. So let's just kind of reevaluate things here one more time. Okay, the sine, I'm sorry, 165 degrees is my given angle, but I want to rewrite this as something over 2 because I can't evaluate, I'm supposed to use half angle formulas here. So you could, in essence, still use sum of angles. So like 120 plus 45 degrees gives you 165. So you could use a sum or difference of angles here and evaluate all of the sine, cosine, and tangent. Unfortunately, the directions want us to use half angle formulas. So as a result, we've got to kind of come up with a creative way to evaluate this. So 165 is the same as 330 degrees divided by 2. Okay, this is the piece that we are going to use to be able to evaluate things. In other words, I'm going to actually find the sine of 330 degrees over 2. This will allow me to use a half angle formula because it's divided by 2. Okay, so the sine of a half angle is either plus or minus this square root of 1 minus the cosine of u over 2. Okay, well, what quadrant is 165 degrees in? It's in the second quadrant. So please remember that sine is positive in the second quadrant, so we do want to use the positive version of it. And the angle that goes in here then is 330 degrees. Okay, so here we go. Let's start simplifying things. This is, let's see, 330 degrees is a 30-degree reference angle in the fourth quadrant. So cosine's positive in the fourth quadrant, and the value for cosine of a 30-degree angle is root 3 over 2, and so this is 2. Okay, so here we go. So now our job is to just simplify, and this is kind of where it gets a little bit more hairy. I'm going to say the numerator here. I'm going to make this 2 over 2. So this is really 2 minus the square root of 3 all over 2 divided by the square root of 2. And so when I simplify this, this is really the square root of 2 minus the square root of 3 over, this 2 is in the denominator, this becomes the square root of 2 times the square root of 2. You get 2 root 2's in the denominator. So my answer that I really like, it's really pretty, is 2 minus the square root of 3 all over 2. There's my answer for that. Okay, I'm going to go over here to this other side. Let's figure out the cosine of this as well. I'll get rid of that. All right, so what's the cosine? We're going to use the same angle of 330 degrees over 2. Now, cosine in the second quadrant here, this is in the second quadrant. Cosine's negative in the second quadrant. Again, I'm basing this off 165 degrees. That's in the second quadrant, cosine's negative. So I want the negative version of my square root this time. This is 1 plus the cosine of 330 all over 2. Now, we just did some of this, so that's kind of nice. This is 1 plus root 3 over 2 divided by 2. And so then, if we continue on, what's up? Okay, hang on. Pause.
Make that go away. We apologize for the interruption.
Ooh, done. Okay. All right, so here we go. Sorry, we had calculator malfunction. Okay, so how do I simplify this? This is going to be 2 over 2. So in the numerator, I have 2 plus the square root of 3 over 2. In the denominator, I still have the square root of 2 from the initial piece. We're going to make this 2 go down below. So this is negative square root of 2 plus root 3. I have a square root of 2 and a square root of 2 in the denominator. So really what I want is negative 2 plus root 3 all over 2. And that's my answer for cosine. All right, well, what about tangent? Ugh, I'm out of space, and this is going to get really ugly really fast. as I'm not on my normal computer and I'm not on my normal. Okay, so how do I find tangent? Okay, let's just cheat. Okay, tangent of this. I guess I should use the formula since I've given it to you. Ugh. Okay, tangent of 330 over 2. I'm going to use, let's see. I'm going to use this one only because I know the sign that I want to use is going to have a denominator of 1/2. Okay, so again, 165 degrees is in the second quadrant. So I want the negative case. But wait a minute. I don't have to worry about that with tangent. I just do the problem and I'm happy. So this is going to be 1 minus the cosine of 330 degrees over the sine of 330 degrees. So this is 1 minus the square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. All right. Oh, I hate this computer. I'm on a different in a different classroom on a different board on a different computer. You all know technology does not like me. Okay, so how do I simplify this? Okay, I'm going to rewrite this as 1 minus the square root of 3 over 2, not divided by 1/2, but times 2. I'm going to just take this denominator and put it up. All right, so if I distribute this, I get 2 minus the square root of 3, and I think I'm done. Isn't that fabulous? That's all I got. All right, fantastic. Let's try another problem. And here it is. That's delightful. All right. It says find the exact values for sine, cosine, and tangent of this angle. All right. Yeah. I got to draw myself a picture here. So tangent of u is 7/24, and I'm in the third quadrant. So tangent, remember, is opposite over adjacent. So I would say that, so for this triangle here we go. I'm in the third quadrant. Opposite is -7, adjacent is -24. You're in the third quadrant, so those have to be negative x and y values. And then what's the other side? What's my hypotenuse? Well, I want the square root of 7 squared plus 24 squared, which is a square root of 49 plus 576. Oy vey, which is the square root of 625. Hey, that's just 25. Yay us. I'm making that disappear because I know I'm going to need all the space I can get. All right, so we are in the third quadrant. So the sine of u over 2 in the third quadrant is negative, and this is going to be 1 minus the cosine. Okay, cosine is adjacent, so -24 over 25 divided by 2. And now I just have to simplify all of this loveliness. So boop, boop, there you go. Those are pluses. So I really have 1 plus 24/25. Look, 1 plus 24 over 25 is 25 over 25, added to 24 over 25. This is 49 over 25. Okay, fantastic. Here we go. This is negative square root of 49 over 25 divided by 2. Okay. So this is the same thing as the negative square root of 49 over 50, which is -7 over 5 root 2. And I'm not supposed to leave it like that, so I multiply top and bottom by root 2. And I'm getting -7 root 2 over 10. I think that's what we want. All right, what's the cosine of this? Well, the cosine of our half angle, again, I'm in the third quadrant, so I have to be, wait a minute, I got to think about this. If I'm in the third quadrant and I divide by 2, which quadrant am I really going to be in? It's a good question. If I'm in the second quadrant and I divide by 2, like even if I'm way over here at 180, if I divide it by 2, that puts me at 90, so I'd be in the first quadrant. But if I go bigger than that, like if I'm down here, and if I divide that by 2, I should not be in the third quadrant. I should actually, this is actually a second quadrant angle. Is sign positive or negative there? Sign's positive. So let's get rid of all these. Let's get rid of our negativity. There you go. But again, cosine is in the second quadrant, so that makes it the negative version of it all. I hope I didn't just confuse the bejesus out of you. Sorry if I did. Okay, so I'm in the second quadrant really with this angle, and I should have 1 plus the cosine. Okay, the cosine is negative 24/25 all over 2. Okay, so if I deal with this, I'm going to get a negative. Let's see. 1 plus a negative 24 over 25 is the 25 over 25 minus 24 over 25. This is 1 over 25 divided by 2. So this is really the negative square root of 1 over the square root of 50, which is negative 1 over 5 root 2, which of course Herman says don't leave it like that. So this is negative root 2 over 10 for our cosine. Fantastic. And then we're supposed to find the tangent of all of this loveliness as well. Here's what I would say for tangent. I know I'm down at the bottom and I apologize for that. You can use the formula, or you could just take sine over cosine. I could just do sine of u divided by 2 divided by cosine of u over 2. Okay, so the sine is, you ready for this? 7 root 2 over 10, that's a 7, over negative root 2 over 10. The answer is just negative 7. Okay, fantastic. One more example. Here we go. This one says find the solutions over the interval. Okay, this is going to be delightful. Okay, so the sine of x over 2 added to cosine of x minus 1 is supposed to equal 0. Man, you know, it would have really good if I like had the answers in front of me and kind of knew what I was doing, right? Just kidding. I know what I'm doing. Okay, so got that problem copied down for yourselves? That would be ideal. That would be kind of what we want to have happen. Okay, so if we're looking at these half angle problems, and I think I have my answer sheet. I'm looking for it right now, just to make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Okay. All right, here we go. What about this one? And this doesn't tell me where I'm at or where I'm located, so that's kind of a challenge. Sine of x over 2 is going to be plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of x over 2 plus the cosine of x minus 1 equals 0. All right, I don't need this second thing anymore. I've used it, like that was the whole deal. So we're going to stop right there. And now let's go back and let's solve this equation. This is the equation that we need to kind of get under our control to be able to solve things. Here we go. Here we go. How do we solve this? Okay, so I am going to go ahead and move this over to the other side. So I've got plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine x over 2. And I'm going to say that this equals 1 minus the cosine of x. Okay. I'm doing that so I can get rid of the square root, and I'll get rid of the square root by squaring both sides. Please make sure that you note you've just squared both sides. You've made the problem bigger than it was initially, so you eventually need to check for extraneous solutions. Okay, 1 minus the cosine of x over 2 is the left side. The right side, if I FOIL this out, would be 1 minus 2 cosine of x plus cosine squared of x. All right. And then I still don't like the fraction, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. And I get 1 minus the cosine of x equals 2 minus 4 cosine of x plus 2 cosine squared x. And if I simplify this, I'm going to make it equal to 0 because I like to factor. Is 2 cosine squared x. This is a minus 3 cosine of x, and then a plus 1. This is factorable. I'm going to get 2 cosine of x, and a cosine of x, and a minus 1 and a minus 1. And then I look and I say, okay, self, where does the cosine of x equal 1/2? And where does the cosine of x equal 1? Well, this is x equals 0. It's a single angle, so I don't have to worry about doing anything wonky with it. The other place I need to look at is where does cosine of x equal 1/2? In the first quadrant, that's going to be pi over 3. And then I have to go to the fourth quadrant, and that would be 5 pi over 3. These are the answers, but I really should go back and check and make sure that I kind of have the right things going on here. All right, so what if I check 0? What's the sine of 0 plus the cosine of 0? Minus 1. So sine of 0 is 0, cosine of 0 is 1. I have a minus 1. That checks out. So this is definitely an answer. Let's try pi over 3. If I plug in a pi over 3, this is really the sine of pi over 6. Sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. So this turns out to be 1/2 plus 1/2 minus 1 equals 0. And I like that. That makes me happy. Okay, how about 5 pi over 6? 5 pi over 3, I'm sorry, 5 pi over 3 makes this, and then that's a 5 pi over 3. 5 pi over 3, well, divided by 2, means that I'm really dealing with the sine of 5 pi over 6 plus the cosine of pi over 3 minus 1 equals 0. Sine in the second quadrant is positive. Cosine of that is 1/2 minus, this one works out as well. So actually all of my solutions do work. Okay, hopefully that's enough information for you to be able to successfully do tomorrow night's homework. Okay, thanks for listening. We'll catch you later.